Minutes tonight for the second public workshop for the City of Oviedo Comprehensive Plan. Want everybody to know that this meeting is being recorded and we will post it on the city's official website. So if that is an issue for you, now would be the time to sign off, but this meeting is being recorded. Before we go through the agenda, would like to go over the ground rules very quickly. I just mentioned that it's being recorded. It looks like everybody's doing a great job keeping their microphones muted for now, but we are going to have a breakout session in about 10 or 15 minutes where you'll have some opportunity to discuss the project amongst yourselves. But if you can, please keep it muted during the presentation portion or during the Q&A. And then if you have any technical issues, you can hit the chat button and a member of our team will be happy to assist you. So my name is Curtis Stratka. I lead our community planning and design practice in the Orlando office. We are assisting the city with the comprehensive plan update. And so what we're going to be doing tonight is giving you an overview of the planning process and visioning process. We're going to be talking about future trends and how they may affect the city. And then we're going to turn it over to our participants to work through a small group exercise that I'll describe in a couple minutes. So we'll have facilitators at each station. We'll have some time for Q&A and then finally talk about the next steps for the project. So the comprehensive plan update is the city's high-level regulatory document that controls and regulates land use, growth, and development for the entire city. It is typically has a 15 to 20-year time horizon, and the last time it was had a major update was in 2010. So now we're getting to the period where we want to look farther into the future so we can plan for both foreseen and unforeseen events. We are working through a four-step process. Our first meeting, which I see some of the folks on the line were able to participate in, was to answer the question, where are we now? And this is part of the four-step Oregon model that takes us through a series of questions to establish the baseline conditions for the city, the future trends for where it may go, and other alternatives for the future. So at the last meeting, we set that baseline and kind of set the vision for how the community saw Oviedo growing in the future. And that's what we're going to dive into at this second meeting, or where are we going? So we're going to be asking you, how should the city physically grow in the future based on the projected growth trends for the city? The third workshop, which we will be doing in September, is attempting to answer the question, where do we want to go? So that's where we're going to take the work that we did tonight to look at population trends and growth and really kind of dive in and determine what parts of the area we think should be redeveloped or revitalized, and how we can create a long-term plan through 2045 to realize that vision. And then the fourth part of the Oregon model asks, how do we get there? And that's where we will develop the comprehensive plan goals, objectives, and policies that will show, that will describe how the city can manage its growth for the next 25 years and beyond. And we'll have a number of public workshops with the local planning agency and city council to do that. So we're not trying to accomplish everything in one night. It's a four-step process. So we're glad you're here for the second part of it. So we want to show you some trends of what is going in terms of population growth. The 2019 estimate was just over 40,000 persons within the city, and looking to over the next 25 years at a different population growth scenarios. You see Bieber medium estimate and Bieber. Bieber stands for the Bureau of Economic and Business Research, which is located at the University of Florida. And it's one of the de facto growth estimation measures that's used by comprehensive planning throughout the state. So as you can see, between Bieber High and then recent Seminole County estimates, we're anticipating almost 20,000 new residents within the city of Oviedo over the next 25 years. So the question you may be asking is, where will this new population go within the city? And that's what we're going to try to address tonight. We looked at a recent study done by Seminole County that was just published in last month, and it showed that the major growth areas are along the city's corridors. So you can see the darkish brown between the old downtown and the new downtown is projected to see the highest level of growth within the city. And this is done by traffic zone, traffic analysis zones, and kind of represents how the county anticipates growth, but it isn't exactly what I think the city and maybe the residents would see as growth. This is kind of the natural progression based on just how traffic has worked in the past. And we want to give you the opportunity to, as residents or stakeholders, to plan for growth and have a greater say in the process rather than just looking at how it's assigned by traffic zones. One of the other things that our team needs to do is take a look at how population growth affects the public services that are provided by the city. So when we look in the future, each public infrastructure facility has certain what are called level of service standards. And this is a measure of how effectively a community can provide the public services that are needed by the residents. So if you look at things like community parks, that red line represents the existing acreage. And in all of the different growth scenarios, the city already has sufficient community parks for recreation and open space. But there's other things like volleyball courts where we actually need to add to the existing level as shown in the red line in order to meet the standards that the city has adopted for itself. In other areas like sewer capacity and water capacity, both of which are important to support residences and businesses, the sewer is projected to have enough capacity over the next 25 years, but potable water could be an issue. As you can see, the high estimate would exceed that from net growth. So there would have to be some strategies to provide that level of potable water service in the future. When we dug a little deeper and looked at how the city is actually physically developed, we found that for the most part, the actual growth did not meet the allowable density. So as you can see here, in the commercial portion of the city, it allows you to build on at least half of the site, or 0.5 FAR, floor area ratio. But generally, all commercial lands were done at 0.11, or just about 10% of the site was covered. So there's actually, this is indicative of the land not being used to its fullest and potential as permitted by the plan. So we'd like to ask you, as we get into our small group exercise, where do you think the opportunities are to grow within the city or to utilize the land more efficiently? There may be redevelopment opportunities, such as the area around the old downtown or the Geneva Drive area. That may be something you would want to consider. We'd like to know what areas of the city do you think need to be preserved the way they are? They operate and function exactly the way they should, and no changes are needed. So we'd like to know that. And then, get your sense of what's needed to improve the city. How can we promote a healthier, more sustainable community? So that's where you, as experts within your own community, are going to help us. So I'm going to walk you through instructions for a small group exercise. What we're going to do is break out everybody 4 different breakout rooms. So you're going to be assigned, and you'll get a message that says you've been assigned a breakout group, and just click OK. You'll automatically be taken there. And there will be a facilitator there that also has a background like mine that will help to lead you through the exercise. But the facilitator is not there to do the work for you. They're there to help guide you and answer any questions along the way. So we'd like you to, if you feel comfortable, turn on turn your video on so folks can see your face, and turn off your mic so you'll be able to participate in the exercise. And we're going to challenge you to work collaboratively to complete this exercise. And then each of the groups, we would love it if somebody would act as the spokesperson, and it won't be the facilitator. It'll be a resident or stakeholder within the community, because after we get done with the breakout sessions, you will present your map exercise back to the whole group for discussion. And just as a reminder, we will be recording the breakout rooms in addition to this presentation now. Okay, so the exercise we are going to do is it's a spatial distribution of population, but at different footprints. So we already established that the city is projected to add almost 20,000 new people over the next 25 years. And the question is, what form does that take in the future? Is it a high density scenario? Is it a low density scenario? Is it a little bit of both? And what we're going to ask you to do is use these different colored circles, as you can see on the map, and we're going to help you to arrange them on the map, and you can show us where you would put that. If we were in person, this would be a lot easier to do because we could all stand around a table and move the circles around together. But the exercise, it's conceptual in nature. Essentially what you're doing is looking at how the development footprint and the density that's incorporated within different land uses affects the spatial relationship of the city. So for example, this corridor and this, not working with my background, but I'm holding up two different size items, and they both represent the same number of new households, but just at different densities. So one will have a much bigger impact or bigger footprint on the map than the other. So that doesn't work that well, but you'll see in the exercise, you'll be able to work with the facilitators to do that. Here is a quick exhibit that shows what the different circles represent. So the green circle on the left represents 1 dwelling unit per acre, or the rural future land use that Oviedo already has incorporated. 3.5 dwelling units per acre is the low density residential. And then this moves along the continuum to 75 units per acre. Now 75 isn't a future land use that currently exists within the city, but we wanted to explore to see if people had an interest in higher density development and the choices that are made there. Currently, the highest development or the highest density is in the downtown classification, which allows up to 50 units per acre and is a mixed use district. Your facilitators have these maps in their stations in case you'd like to go back to them. These are character images, so we're not implying that the city of Oviedo is going to grow the same as Tampa or Portland or Mountain View, California, but they're meant to be illustrative of the development form and the street pattern that you could get from that. Okay, so we've established that we've got our 6 different circles and that we need to put 6 of them on a map. So let me show you what the map looks like. Here's the existing city limits. You're all familiar with this, of course. This is what the map looks like when you add in the conservation lands as well as the water bodies. We will not allow you to put any development circles on conservation or water bodies because that would defeat the purpose of conservation. The black parcels that I've added here represent the current vacant land within the city, but you're not limited to solely vacant lands. If you think that there's a portion of the area, a corridor, or a neighborhood or commercial area that should be redeveloped, you can use that as well. So that the vacant land is there as a guide. Here you can see the development corridors. So these are areas within the comprehensive plan that are already adopted as desired multimodal corridors that would have increased development density along them. Now in yellow, you see the core redevelopment district, and this represents the old downtown to the north, as well as the new downtown to the south. This generally overlaps with the community redevelopment area. Um, so this is, kind of the downtown core that already has some of the higher density land uses within it. And then in purple, we've added the gateway districts. So these are also already adopted in the comprehensive plan and are meant to be emerging centers of activity. So that's another area where you may want to consider placing your circles. To the west here, we've shown you the municipal boundary for the city of Winter Springs. So as you can see, we are adjacent to it, which you probably already know. And then to the east and north, we've added the Seminole County Rural Overlay. So that is an area where the county has adopted a special planning program there that would limit any new development. So finally, as we go to our exercise, our facilitators will help you to place these circles on the map. And these are scaled for the right amount of development. Again, approximately 1,000 units in each of these circles. So as we move to our breakout groups, please introduce yourselves to your peers and work with your facilitators to put them on the map. So Tyler or Will, if you can move us along to our exercise, we will do that. And then we will reconvene to talk about the maps. We'll see if there's a favorite amongst all four groups, or it could be that people like portions of each of the maps that they see. So we'll have a discussion on that, and then finally wrap up with some Q&A. So see some of you in my group soon, and then we'll have 3 other groups that are starting out. All right, it looks like everybody is rejoining our room. I hope you found that exercise both interesting and challenging. Very excited to see what the group results came from. We're not going to vote on the best group or anything like that. It's not a competition. I see that the mayor is smiling at that. So she probably thinks she was in the best group. We'll see what happens. But what we want to do is have a discussion. We're going to ask each of the breakout group reporters to please give us a quick 1-minute overview of some of the choices you made and maybe some of the challenges you faced in doing that. And any of the VHB facilitators can add on if they think there's something notable that they missed. So let's start with group number 1. And please just bear with us as we switch between the screens. It may take a moment. So who was our group 1 facilitator? If you could share your screen.
And screen 2. This is Tyler's group. I think I was just messaged Belinda. I was hoping she would want to speak. I'm currently moving a dot around because we got cut off mid-discussion right at the end there. So Belinda, if you wouldn't mind unmuting and kind of sharing your thoughts and kind of summarizing a couple of our key points, but I think this main area was our primary discussion area.
And Tyler, I don't see your screen yet, so I think you need to complete that.
I'm sorry. There it goes.
Okay.
Better. This is what I was moving around the main area of our discussion, I think. So we discussed taking it off right at the end. So I think that was a concern that Linda had if she wants to share.
I was able to unmute. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, so I think I have Jocelyn in agreement. David, I think right before he got cut off, was about to say that he thought it was high density there. If you wouldn't mind, you could throw in a chat really quickly. And Tara, but the discussion is being very conservative and putting things on the outer edges and being conservative in our downtown area, new and old.
I think that was.
I don't think that was the consensus of the group. I think we grappled with the continuing concerns of how to manage growth, and I don't think we got to the point where we agreed on the densities. But I do think that we were fond of the I don't know that I'd call it vacant, but the undeveloped portions that do to.
but we're not in agreement on the 30 at all in the downtown, new or old, in the Oviedo on the Park. I don't have Tara. I have Jocelyn saying that she wants to be conservative on the peripherals, myself being conservative, and if any of the other two would like to, David, you said that, so is it conservative? Is it not conservative? Is it somewhere in between?
So this is Tara. My conversation in that old downtown redevelopment area was keeping the charm, making it quaint, 2 to 3 stories, mixed use, you know, and looking at what kind of density that would be, walkable, you know, divert traffic around it, which I know with the road being built, you know, whether or not that would happen. So, and then yes, focusing Oviedo Mall and the Duda area.
So David, are we saying that we're all in agreement on more in the mall and on the outer edges nearer the mall and Duda? Would you be more apt to agree on that?
I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah,
I think we're saying we don't have agreement.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of back and forth. I think it was a healthy discussion, but I think, you know, kind of this area along Duda, close to or the Duda property close to 417 was an area so we can avoid traffic on Mitchell Hammock. And then this area, what the appropriate density in this area was, you know, maintaining you know, a conservative look with the existing neighborhoods there and how that develops. I think that was, I don't think we came to a consensus on that, but that was definitely a big point of discussion that we're going to need to explore moving forward. But there was no push for an even higher density. I think was a consensus. So that was group 1. Thank you, everybody, and I'm going to stop sharing now.
Okay, Neil, are you the group 2 facilitator?
I'm group 3, actually.
Oh, I apologize. Jordan, would you please share your screen and let us know who is presenting?
Yep, you should be able to see it now.
Yes.
And I had pinged Scott to share, but also the mayor was in our group, so she also might want to chip in.
Great.
Mayor, I'll defer to you, but unless you want me to go.
No, yeah, I was trying to say it's all Scott, but I was on mute, so I'll go back.
Well, then good. You can stay on mute, and I'll say she totally agreed with me. So, you know, that would be good. Our general conversation started out where development is currently highest and densest and where it's currently being allowed. So we immediately started on the mall area. We threw a couple of large circles there, just meaning that it's already currently a DRI. Development is planned and certainly needs to be where it's already, the infrastructure is in place, the level of service is already there. And so we thought the highest density, there was some last minute conversation in our group about, could it be a little bit less? Could we start to distribute it more so that it isn't so heavy in one area? So that was some fleeting thoughts from, I think, Sam and maybe a couple others as we were finalizing. So we didn't maybe reflect that, but I'll just say it here for the record. But mainly it was just trying to see where density was. Then to come back towards the Duda, like everybody else said as well, there's opportunities there for development, for growth. There were some concerns about thinking about how Mitchell Hammock is supporting all of the traffic and some of the congestion we currently have. But if done right, and I think a lot of the appearance, if we think about what has been done at Oviedo on the Park and how that could be maybe densified and or continue that level of density and do it there on Duda Farms, that might be a good approach. And then really right in and around the core downtown, understanding, yes, character is important. The way we develop is important, but certainly looking at fringe of the 15 unit per acre where maybe some more multifamily could be. Again, I throw out the reference because everybody knows Oviedo on the Park and what that looks like. And then kind of hitting right into the core of the downtown and saying, well, I think we could still do something more dense there in the middle, and then so we don't impact current neighborhoods, current infrastructure, and try to put it really where infrastructure is in place to handle that kind of growth. Anything else, team?
Sounds good. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott. Scott is our local Urban Land Institute Central Florida District Chair, so it's almost like a cheat code for that group. So, okay, well, Neil, would you please share your screen and we'll talk about just group 3?
I will. Jeff is going to be discussing our collective ideas. Yeah, everybody see my screen? Has the map come up yet?
Yes, the map's up.
We're good.
Thank you.
So we kind of looked at some of the areas that I know that's been in discussions before. The mall, just like the previous groups have talked about. There's a lot of space out there on the mall, plus on the other side. So we were looking at, 50s, kind of through that mall area. We think there's a lot of areas where that could really could get more density in there. As we get into what we're calling the uptown, and then just outside of 419, we think there's some opportunities there as well to increase in the density within those areas where there may be the vacant land, old commercial that could be cleared out and made into more living areas where we can get a little bit more and then being in the core. And then on the bottom here, we actually had Pam in our group, and I believe she's a Lake Rogers resident, and we're talking about the spray fields, and this was looking at that area being at like 3.5 basically per acre there. So we were kind of doing a lot of the 50s, kind of looking at more density where we could build it in within the area without trying to turn and infringe more into what we would call the more residential areas.
That was very good. 50-50-50.
All right, thanks, Neil. Let me share my screen, and last but not least is group 4 with Mr. Steve Rich as our presenter.
Okay, our group took a little bit of a different tact on this. We all agreed that the mall was the area that could stand the most amount of density. We did not want to go with the 75 dwelling units per acre because that's a 7 to 8 story structure likely. We didn't think that was appropriate for the character of Oviedo. And most everybody, 2 out of the remaining other 3, honed in on the Duda spray field, the Duda sod farm. We all kind of agreed that traffic could be an issue there, so we decided that 15 dwelling units per acre would be better than much higher because there's already a traffic problem on Mitchell Hammock. And then we're the outliers. We basically were of the opinion that there's not really enough suitable land left in Oviedo without going to super high density. So we were thinking of that unincorporated white area up in the northeast corner, possibly an annexation, and at 3.5 dwelling units per acre.
Thanks, Steve. I would also note that this group thought that the core development district, they intentionally did not put anything in there because they thought it already had a high level entitlement and kind of wanted it to grow the way it could naturally. So that was some of their thought process. So, okay, well, thank you to all of our presenters and our facilitators for sharing. It's not an easy exercise, especially when we're virtual like this. But you could see there's certain trade-offs that you need to make in order to accommodate the potential for growth in the future. Just some observations I saw across the board were, most people looked at the mall as a targeted redevelopment site, and that being consistent with the plan already wants it to be a gateway district. So maybe we should look and see if it has the right, not only entitlements or development rights, but if there's other incentives that could go there. Others also looked at, most people looked at the Duda lands as a potential growth opportunity. I was surprised that I don't think anybody really targeted any annexations to the southwest, except for maybe one group. I thought maybe there would be, some folks that did that, but very interesting to see how we did this. What we will do is we will save all of these maps on the project website so folks can look at it and kind of see what the thoughts surrounding them were. We will combine them together into sort of a synthesis map to look where there's overlaps from multiple groups to see, what that relationships look like. And this will become the basis for at our next workshop. We're going to come back with several different future land use alternatives. So taking your thoughts and then showing how that could actually be translated into a future land use map instead of a circle map. So really appreciate everybody participating in this. Hopefully it was you found it to be engaging and challenging. In terms of next steps, we have set up a virtual collaboration space. If you click on the link, and if Will or Tyler, if you can put it in the chat box, that would be great. This link is also available on the city's website, and it's probably next to the Zoom link that you clicked on to get to this meeting itself. So this space will be up for about 4 weeks, and it will have a recording of this video as well as just the raw presentation, as well as the previous presentation from the first workshop, or Where Are We Now? There's several open-ended commenting stations where we're going to ask people to describe how they would like to see the city develop in the future. And it's a way for folks that weren't able to participate in today's workshop the ability to do it at their own time. There's also a similar mapping exercise where you can drop pins on a map and tell us if that's an area to be preserved or an area to to potentially either grow or redevelop. But it won't be the same exercise that we did today with the map chips, because it just didn't translate well. So please visit that website and leave your comments there. And then we have our third and final visioning workshop scheduled for Tuesday, September 15th. And we're going to be asking the question of where do we want to go. So again, we'll have those different alternatives for you to take a look at and comment on, and let us know if you think that's the growth pattern and the transportation pattern that you would like to see within the city. That's going to either be at the Cultural Center or online. We will, of course, let you know well ahead of time how that will work. So I know we're a little bit past 7, but wanted to make ourselves available for any questions that we could answer at this time. So please,
Got a quick one.
Yes.
So in our group 2, before we began putting the dots on, we had a quick discussion about what entitlements currently exist and how much the population could grow even if we didn't place any dots, because I know that for a lot of groups, in looking at what their response was, that was the inclination, is like, let's add no dots. But the critical question here, and this is something you may have to research more, if no dots were added, will we add, is it theoretically possible with the land use as they currently exist, without changing a thing, for an additional 20,000 units to be built? If the answer is yes, then then you can move to the next step of, well, where should they go? Should we shift them from where they are? Do you know off the top of your head the for sure answer to that question?
I don't have the for sure answer, although we did look at the total amount of development compared with the total amount of entitlement. And as I showed in a chart earlier, there's a great gap between what was actually built versus what's allowed. So we can do that analysis. You may be correct that if certain areas redevelop, there wouldn't be a need to add other dots. We were trying to make this exercise fairly simple, and that's why we didn't use an actual land use map, because we didn't want people to be kind of concerned with how much entitlement is there already. We wanted to get your sense of what is, in these different character districts, where do you think generally the new development and growth should occur?
All right, thanks a bunch. I think that for anybody who's alarmed by seeing some groups having put high density in the historic district, it helps to kind of think about it through that lens as we go to phase 3 of this.
Right, and that'll be our next step to do that analysis.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions? Last call. Okay. Well, thank you all for attending. Like I said, we'll be posting a meeting summary and this video on the project website. Please spread the word. We'd love to engage as many people as we can for the third and final workshop. And then again, there's 4 weeks of opportunity to go to the virtual collaboration space and leave comments there, look at documents at your own time. So please avail yourself of that. But other than that, I'd like to thank you all
Kurt,
for—
I'm sorry, one more quick question. I didn't
Yes.
get off mute in time. Do you know what the current density of Oviedo on the Park, to give people an idea of what that is and how it relates to, 50, 15, or whatever, the current bubbles we were placing on the plan?
I do not, Scott, I do not know the current density of that. I wonder if Deborah or Teresa have that information. If not, we can find out. I'd have to look at a site plan of it.
Gotcha. Thank you. I just heard some comments about 7 and 8 story, and I don't think that's right for Oviedo either, but I think we could get to higher densities without that and keeping within the character of Oviedo in the Park.
So the allowable density for Oviedo in the Park is 30 dwelling units per acre for single use and 50 for mixed use, when you have retail on the ground floor and residential on top. We'll have to check. None of the development have really reached the potential, right? What is the permissible density? I would say there would be more 20s or 30s maximum.
Right. So the Strand is getting closer to that, but probably not than the existing townhomes are closer to 15 or 20.
And I will just point out that was one of the first questions that we had in group 1 too, and you might have noticed on our map we actually had to create a different dot somewhere between 15 and 50. So 30 was that extra one that we created for that exact reason.
Yeah, townhomes are more should be 16 dwelling units per acre.
All right. Is anybody else trying to find their mute control?
If I can just add for the same thing.
Yes.
Oviedo on the Park, I believe, theoretically, and again, it's all about maximums. It's nowhere near the maximums that's allowed, but, they're talking 7 stories at other places. The theory is that Oviedo on the Park could theoretically reach 7 stories, but it's not practical in any way, shape, or form. So where people are kind of getting, I'm going to say, confused or lost, in trying to picture this, I think maybe for the future, or you could point out, as Dr. Carrera just said, the townhomes are like 15. If you're looking at the townhomes are about 15, 25 to 30 to Oviedo on the Park apartments. Those are your comparison points. I don't believe we have any 50s, that you look at that are generally that dense in the city at all currently. If I'm mistaken, please let me know, Dr. Carrera.
No, we don't.
Okay. Well, thank you again, everyone, for spending time with us. We greatly appreciate your feedback as we work together to to plan for the future of the city. And we hope to see you at the next workshop. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Good night.